All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. We are going to run our intro, and we will be right back. All right, ladies, welcome. Good evening. Good evening. So I am Samantha Walker, and these are my beautiful, wonderful co-hosts, Vanessa Fields
Hey y'all.
and Shanetta McNair.
Hey.
So we are on every ish Thursday at 8 p.m. talking about various topics that affect us, that surround us, sometimes just random topics like tonight. So tonight we are going to just talk about a few random topics, and I have not prepped my ladies. So you guys are getting the real raw reactions, thoughts, and feelings. So buckle up. It's going to be interesting. Good evening, Mr. Walker. How are you? All right, ladies. So, you got any updates? Anything you want to share before we jump in?
No
No.
news, but it's almost Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. You ready to cook? Is that what's happening?
So Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday
Oh,
of the
okay.
year, besides my birthday. Favorite holiday of the year because you get to eat with no judgment.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I did
Whatever
not
you
know
want,
that.
as much as you want. Yeah, yeah, I don't eat a lot on Thanksgiving. I do.
No, I mean, I didn't know it was your favorite holiday, and I definitely
Oh
didn't
yes.
know the reason.
Yeah. Favorite holiday because you get to eat as much as you want with no judgment. The next morning you can get up and eat cake for breakfast. Nobody really judges you for that.
Okay.
If they do, they don't really say it out loud because, like, we have so much cake, we have so much pie, like, we must eat it all. And breakfast is okay to eat it with coffee. So,
Hmm.
at least in my head, that's the way this conversation goes. If it is not in real life, I don't know, but in my life,
Hey, that's all that matters, girl. If it works for you, I say go with it.
I live in a judgment free zone. I eat what I want when I want. I eat breakfast for dinner. You never know with me, what a meal may include, and cake with coffee is breakfast. I mean, you got coffee or
Really?
tea, hot beverage, ice beverage. Sounds good to me.
yeah, good
Of
plan.
course, Mr. Eat a Lot said this is my second favorite holiday. I hear you. Yeah. And he definitely goes with what you say, Shanetta. Eat whatever judgment free zone.
Mhm.
Uh, so, of course, there are a million things happening in the world around us every day. You cannot cut on the TV or click on the internet without seeing something going on. We thought, let the election come and go, and then, whew, we would get a chance to exhale.
Mhm.
However, that is not necessarily the case. Yes, the texts have stopped and the calls have stopped and possibly the emails, all those things have stopped.
Yeah.
But there is a new barrage of things that this election um, has brought to our lives.
Mhm.
And in the past week and a half, 2 weeks, however long it's been, I have heard several times people say, women of color should feel like this, or women of color feel this way, or say women should feel this way, or women should be, you know, disheartened. And I've heard all these definitions of how women should feel from numerous amounts of people. Some people that look like us, some people that don't, some people that are male, some people that are female. I've heard it several times. And so being a woman, naturally, and a woman of color, I figured we should express how we feel about it. Like, I don't want to talk about how other people think we should feel. So I want you ladies, let's talk about it. So the election came, the election's gone. What are your feelings?
So initially, I will say that going into the election, um, while my heart wanted to believe that the United States of America was ready to do something different and that this was a possibility and that it was like right there within reach to, finally say, okay, we can go in this different direction. We feel comfortable enough to move in this direction with all of the backing and the support that felt like was coming. There was still that part of me that where it was kind of like you knock yourself upside the head and you're like, really though, but really, like, could it really happen? Um, and it just felt like because we knew what now I'm gonna call him number 47. That's what I've been doing since the election.
Okay.
We knew what 47 had to offer. Like, we've already been there, done that. We've seen it. He was not displaying anything new. So like we knew what that looked like. So here's an opportunity to do something different. I felt like we still weren't going to get that different.
Okay.
But I didn't want to say that out loud. I didn't want to feel like, because you want to still hold on to keep hope alive, right?
Okay.
So still trying to hang on in that realm and kind of stay there going into the election. I was trying to be very, very, very hopeful that we would see, an outcome favorably. And then that night and kind of going into like, the end of the night, it was kind of looking very bleak. And I feel like that was a little disheartening, a little disappointing. But the next day, once it was like official, my determination since that day has been not to sit or settle in any of those feelings or those emotions, but to kind of push forward. It is what it is. We know what we're getting. We know what that looks like, and we know that it can be really bad, and that because we know what it looks like, we know to. I heard Jamal Bryant say on the radio on my way home today, expect the unexpected, which is like, what? How do you expect the unexpected? What does that even look like? And it's kind of like, but you just know that you're just going to get some curveballs and you're going to get some weird stuff. You're going to hear some really weird stuff. And every time I look up at like the news, like, and see like some of just the people that's being appointed and that kind of stuff, it's just kind of like, all right, then that's what you out here doing. Whatever, man. Have a nice day. And kind of not trying to dwell, research. I don't want to dig. I don't want to research. I don't want to do anything. I'm just kind of like, all right, here we are. What do I need to do for me? And that's kind of where I've been as far as like, that whole thing, not dwelling there.
Okay. So hold on, Vanessa, before you jump in there. So do you think it affects you differently because you have a daughter? Did any of that, factoring in the fact that you have a daughter, did that affect, how affect anything?
No, not in that way. Like, I've heard some videos where I've heard women talking about how, their black daughter, their daughter of color, that type of stuff. I heard a girl who she did this video. She was extremely devastated to find out she was a black girl. Her parents are immigrants, and she found out that her dad voted for Trump, and she was completely like just devastated because it's just her and her sister as far as his kids. And she was like, my dad literally said to me with his vote that I'm not good enough. I don't think that I took it to heart that way, or took it to heart that way about my daughter, but more so just, here we are. It's not new. So no, I don't think that I took it that devastating into like my heart. It was more of a, this was an opportunity. It was a chance. It was right there. And it just didn't, yeah, just
Okay.
didn't quite make it.
Let me read this comment. He said, exactly, we had to live with Biden winning last time, but truthfully, God is ultimately in control in our lives. We're never really affected. I absolutely do agree with that statement. God is ultimately in control. He said, my daughter almost quit talking to me temporarily. She got really mad at me, but it's all okay now. Well, great to hear, Jeff. I'm glad you guys were able to get uh past that particular hurdle.
I think the political divide, the divisiveness that it's causing within just relationships, families, and people, that's the part to me that like kind of seems really sad. Because it feels like you have to pick a side so strongly because of the topics, because of what's been put out there, that it really is hard for people to look past that when there is a divide. It's extremely hard for people to look past that. And everybody has a right to feel how they feel. So I don't know. I just feel like that's the sad part. I don't think I had that much of a fallout with anybody because I've not took a deep dive into like, well, who you voting for? Tell me why like not into like a deep level where I felt like arguing with anybody or being mad at anybody about a vote. You feel how you feel. I need you to, maybe talk to me a little bit about it. And I might look at you like this with my eyes squinted and shake my head. But yeah, that just means that I'm just probably like, I don't really have words because I disagree with you strongly, and I'm not trying to fight with you about, something that can't neither one of us fix right now.
Absolutely. Okay, Vanessa, I'm sure you had a minute to gather all your thoughts. Let's hear them.
I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts about it. I'm not at all surprised. I do like the fact that, um, to me, I think it sparked a bit of hope with her even running. That was my perspective. Not that she would necessarily get in office. I thought that was, a bit of a long shot, even with us being in 2024. But I enjoy seeing her run. I felt like, she got a lot of publicity. It created a nice momentum for us to feel like, at one point we did have a Black president, and now, where we are in life, this woman got to run, whether she won or not. Like for me, I took it as a win. That was, really my perspective and how I felt about it. I felt like really good about like that part. Like I said, I wasn't surprised. We did get something different because this man and all he got going on, and people want to know if we put in you know felonies on applications and stuff now, and like we like it's definitely raised a lot of concern and red flags. But like I said, for me, I'm not at all shocked, and like maybe because I don't feel personally affected by whoever is in office, that it's never really mattered to me the way it does to a lot of other people. You know what I'm saying? Like I've never been the political type to get even into those debates and that sort of thing. So you can stand for whatever you want to stand for. And like I said, for me, because I don't feel like it affects me personally, it don't really matter to me who's in office. But it was nice to see her give it a go. I think we are, that to me speaks volumes. So that's kind of, where I am with it, as a woman of color and all that I do personally in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I always love to see, us doing something big, us doing something special, something important, making great strides. It just, it just the thing that puts that battery in my back to say that for me in this day and age, anything's possible.
Okay, so let me read these comments. Jeff said, I've learned to let people believe what they want to believe. That's everybody's God given right. And just because someone doesn't agree with me doesn't make them bad people. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Most of my friends, quite honestly, politically think different than I do, but we're still friends because we've decided everybody can believe what they want and we can still be friends. I agree. What do you say? Right. I agree, Vanessa. I have never been really political. I was always too busy trying to make a living. Absolutely. And that is, to be totally honest, that is the state of America. Like I have to say, the most surprising part for me was to watch people that you went to work on Monday, right? You worked every day that these people were out there campaigning. On Tuesday, you went to work. Even if you went to vote first, you still went to work. On Wednesday, you got up and you had to go to work. Like somewhere between then and let's say even now, your same bills have arrived at your house. You didn't get a bonus because you like one candidate and don't like the other. You didn't get a special check. Thank you for, being my ride or die. Like none of that happens. Like you still have to figure out how to make a living. Like so that was like the most surprising part for me. He said I was 100% okay with Kamala Harris being our next president. I would have still gone on with my life. Absolutely. That is the thing. Like I think that was the most disheartening part for me. Watching people tear each other apart over these political candidates. I mean, there is a certain, I would say there would have been a certain pride that was attached to seeing, a woman, the first female president, be, a woman of color, whatever color y'all decide she is, because I don't even want to have that debate. Um, there would have been like a certain level of pride, just like there was a certain level of pride when Barack was in office, like, and then I have the same birthday he has. So, like for me, I was like, yes, so I think there would have been that, but like outside of that, I don't know honestly, um, that it really would have changed my life. Like I wasn't gonna go out there and the next person I saw that voted for Trump, I was gonna spit on their foot or something. You know what I'm saying? Like the craziness that I've seen for people that your life still looks the same. Like nothing about it changed.
It's interesting even saying that, and that's definitely the perspective that I have too, is that like life goes on and like I still got stuff I gotta go do. Like I still have kids that I gotta like send money to, and kids in college and bills to pay, and life absolutely goes on. But it's interesting that like if you kind of take a moment and just kind of like, or a couple of moments and kind of hang out on social media, how there are still people that it's like, hey, did y'all realize that the campaign is over? Or y'all didn't realize that it was over? Like, here we are, like the American people who voted spoke and he won. So here we are. But it's amazing that the people that are still going hard, even on one side or the other, that are experiencing other people intimidating them or other people saying things that make life day-to-day uncomfortable. I haven't been one where I can say like I've had a lot of moments in life where I've experienced racial prejudice on one end, like really, like I know I've had some experiences, but it's not been anything like blaring and glaring. Like I know, like I can recall a time probably last year where I literally went into a cleaner's and the lady literally told me, "We won't serve your kind." And I was like, I was so caught off guard that I was just like, I don't even know what to do with that. I quietly left and went on to the next place, but I was a little shocked and taken back. I've never had it that blatantly put out there at me like that.
All right, we need to put the address in the comments.
That being said,
text me the address.
That being said, that's the only time where I know it's been that like,
Right.
you know, thrown at me like that about, you know, color or anything like that. But to hear people talk about their experiences afterwards and
Right.
before and during, where people are saying things that are just extremely out of pocket and rude, I feel like that's when people go too far. Like, whether you're political or not political, to do that, and it's still the world that we live in. It's still like, I was listening to Vanessa say, like, you know, you want to have that hope in 2024 that, you know, we could do this, because we're not that same, you know, America anymore. And it's like, and then you find out, and then you wake up and you're like, nah, everybody's still the same. They still
Yep.
here.
Ain't much has changed. I
They
mean,
right here. They just may not be saying it as loud, but you
right.
know, it's still here. And that's the part that is just kind of like, you sit back and you watch, and it's like, I think it's important to be observant, because I do think that people's true colors come out in times like this, and it's important that you're able to sit back and look at who's around you, whether it's people that are, you know, at work with you, people in your family, or people in your neighborhood. It's extremely important when it's people in your neighborhood, because you live amongst these people. This is where you're supposed to go to find peace. So you definitely have to, yeah.
So Jeff asked a valid question.
Okay.
He said, the cleaners people, were they Caucasian or just Asian?
He said white or Asian. State what the man said. Why are you trying to be politically correct?
I was
Jeff
trying.
said, I have to ask, was she white or Asian?
They were Asian.
I'm not surprised.
They were Asian, and the lady literally, like, I walked in, I was actually going to get something clean for the church. And I was like, oh, I have these, you know, these tablecloths. We want to get them dry clean. This was before I found a good one that I took them to. And she literally was like, no, we do not serve your kind here. And I was just like, and I stood there for a hot second, just kind of like, wait, that's not what she just said. I didn't hear her right. And she said it again. And she was like, no, leave, get out. We don't serve your kind here. And I was like, all right, let me go. Because you know what I don't want today? Problems. I'm trying to get some tablecloths cleaned.
Prison ministry.
For the church. for the church house.
All
like,
day.
let me just, you got it, and I won't come back over here for nothing else. Like, I won't bring you my clothes. I won't bring you a thing. And literally, I will pass that cleaners to go to another one. And then my cleaners just told me last week that they were closing. And I was like, where am I supposed to go? He was like, oh, go. Nope, can't go down there. Sorry, not doing it. I'll find another one. Don't you worry. I need to go find Mr. Jefferson.
I started laughing because automatically I kind of lean to them being Asian. I don't know why. That just kind of,
yeah.
I don't know if that's like a stereotypical response or thought process or what have you, but you know.
Jeff said, I'm sorry, my I Love Jesus might have got put on the show for just a minute.
No, I couldn't even do it because I was like, no, I'm
right. And, definitely we don't want the church on the news for the wrong thing. Because
they would have definitely been like, lady going to drop off tablecloths for the church. And they would have said the whole church name.
Absolutely.
Through the windows of the
right. Absolutely. That is very, very unfortunate. I will agree. I haven't had, like, once in New York a long time ago. I was driving, like, I was like in it's a town called Merrick. You know, Merrick is predominantly not us. But I was driving through it, and it's like this weird street. And, you know, one person comes this way and the other one goes that way. And so, like, I was turning because I had the little arrow, and this Caucasian man was coming this way, and he leaned out his window and said, "You." And I just slammed on brakes in the middle of the street, because if I could have turned that car around, I don't know what I would have done, but just in that moment, I was so enraged that I'm just like, oh my God, like, are you crazy? Like, I'm going through all these things in my mind. But I have to say, I think that's the only time that I've ever had one of those experiences. And to be honest, if he would have been like face to face, yeah, I probably would have wound up on the news. Cause like just that fast, I was trying to think of if I could spin the car around and not cause a crash and run him over or something. And all these things.
Like, what can I do real fast?
Right.
Jeff said he wouldn't have said it to your face. He said he was a coward.
Right. And you're right. He probably wouldn't have, because we in cars going two different directions. But I was just like, oh my gosh, like I don't know.
Back in the day, we'd be like, you see one, slap one. What up?
Right. Like, all these things.
Right.
Right. All the things. So I haven't really had a lot of those overt things happen. Sometimes things happen and you be like, I wonder if it's because you have those wonder moments. But I'm definitely the person that if you make me wonder about it, I'm definitely gonna leave from wherever you are. Yeah. I don't care. You could have just set a whole plate of food in front of me. I'm getting up and I'm gone. You're not gonna get a dime of my money. Mm-mm. I'm not gonna waste the time to put your business online. Because even if everybody that looks like me doesn't show, people that support what you do, they're gonna show up.
Right.
So, like I'm definitely the person. I'm just gonna like if I don't, just lose it, and hopefully my husband's with me, because he's the calm to my storm. I'm definitely gonna go the other way. But Vanessa, when you were saying in 2024 to see the things that people are doing, that is just so interesting. I did see this one story. Neighbors, they lived across the street from each other. Their kids played together. Did you see it?
In that same story, yeah.
Right. Their kids played together. They both voted for number 47. One was a Latin, some kind of Latino. The other one was Caucasian. Well, how about as soon as number 47 won? Now, I'm sure they went into this election both knowing they were voting for him. But as soon as he won, the Caucasian guy wouldn't let his kids play with the other kids anymore and pulled out a gun on him, telling him to go back to his country. Now, how many years we've been living across the street from each other? Our kids have played together. We've probably been inside each other's home. But because this man became president, so all this time you secretly been hating me.
It's the divisiveness that just it just comes out loud.
Yes, absolutely. And I just like that. That is just so crazy. Your kids have probably been over here eating our rice and beans. The things that kids do. Because when kids show up and you're eating, they don't really care what they eat at home. This is something new. They've been doing all the things. And now, just that simply, it's a non-starter.
Yeah.
Like things like that is that these things have been like so bothering for me. Like, I do realize that the president, although it won't necessarily, not immediately anyway, affect my day-to-day, there may be things and policies, that trickle down and cause me to have to shift some things around in my life. But the truth of the matter is, as long as you can wake up, you move forward. And I also feel like there's so many things that we're going to fight about in this life. There's so many things that we're going to have to fight for. I don't believe that an election should be one of them.
I agree.
Like in my lifetime, I mean, I'm almost 50. So I've seen so many, presidents come and go. Some that I voted for, some that I voted against. So at this stage in my life, to throw down a gauntlet over a vote, or go into depression or climb into a bottle, or all these things because of a presidential election, just seems like you may have some underlying issues that that you really need to have addressed, because I don't know that personally you should be so depressed that you can't function. Hold on, I gotta read Jeff's comments so I put him up, because he's sometimes a little bit of wild card.
Yeah, he wilded a little bit in that one.
Oh, is it? Hold on, let me take it out. Oh. Yeah, see what I'm saying, Jeff? Yeah, you almost got me. I don't got my glasses on, so
we understand. We heard it. We see it.
So yeah, basically Jeff agreed with me. We'll leave it at that. So if you're watching online, you'll see his comments. He's a viewer. The man has an opinion. Go for it, Jeff. So, okay, we've talked about the election.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about also, like, okay, the election's over, whatever. The sent button got hit too quick. Jeff, you're the only one working it. It's not like there's somebody else like, send it. Nope. That is all you. Well, I guess this doesn't really affect you guys because you guys don't have school-age children. But I have school-age children. And of course we've talked about the danger and the violence in schools. But now, like, schools are going towards the metal detectors and all these things. And then even at the college last week, there was a shooting at the college. And I'm just like, our kids, our youth, our next generation is experiencing things that we have never experienced, like in school. I mean, yeah, in high school there was fights. Everybody fought. There was fights. Vanessa, you knew all the time. There was always somebody, fighting, jumping on this one. There was a lot of that. But I don't think anybody was like, not during school time, shooting at one another. Like that was something they might have did on the weekend. You heard about somebody doing something. But I'm just saying, it didn't happen in the school building. We were safe-ish. If you went to school, you were sure to come home. Even if you had a few lumps or bumps and bruises, you were gonna make it home. Like now that's not that's not a guarantee anymore as a parent. You know what I'm saying? And now even it's spreading into the colleges. And I just wanted to ask you, ladies, I know you don't have school-age children, but you do have college children. So they still in a school somewhere.
Listen, I'm there every day.
You still, right. And you work in a school. So like when you see things like that, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Jeff said that's so true. There wasn't students shooting a bunch of kids when we were young though. Right. You're absolutely right. Like I said, they fought with a lot of fights, a lot of knuckling up. You might get a black eye, busted lip, little stuff like that. But it was never anything close to. So, like, as a parent, like, are you guys having conversations with your kids? Do your kids bring it up at all? Like, where do y'all stand on it? Like, how are y'all addressing it or no?
I think when my kids were in high school and lower, we did have conversations about, how safe they felt at school and what their schools were doing. There has even been a shift in like incidents and things that occur since they've been in high school. In the last 4 or 5 years, there's even been, a shift in the number of incidents that occur. My daughter freshman year experienced, and she didn't tell me for a couple of weeks, at her college experience, they were at like a party. And someone just pulled out like some machine guns and was just like shooting. And her and her friends ducked and covered. I don't know if if the other girl's mom be watching this or not. And I don't know if she told her mama this story or not. Sorry if she didn't tell you this story. My apologies. Here we are. But literally, like, they were right there. And they were I don't know who decided to record, but kids these days record everything. So somebody recorded from where they were, and you could literally see like the gunfire just going. And my conversation with my daughter even then was more so about like, how have you learned to pay attention? Like, what do you look for? Do you know when to move? Do you know what to look for when it's kind of like, keep your head on a swivel. Like, you got to know what's going on around you at all times. Are you aware? And how do you move when all this stuff starts happening? And she was like, oh no, mom, I be watching everything. Now, they can't have, supposedly they're not supposed to have weapons on college campus, right? That's illegal. And my thing to her is that I'm not going to give you, a weapon to have, as what I would call protection, because then if it falls into the wrong hands, then now we're responsible for something terrible that could have happened. And you kind of emotional and young anyway. We don't need to be doing that with you yet anyway. You need to mature and grow a little bit. But I do think that it's definitely something, and it's something to it, and it's conversations that you have to have, because if kids don't know how to move to keep themselves safe and the things that they need to do, if something does transpire, that's the scary part, is because you don't know if your kids are gonna make it home, because they're around so much and everything is so easy to get to and so accessible. And it's just like, everybody has a gun. Who doesn't have a gun? It almost seems like. And that's the scarier part, I think.
Vanessa, have you had those conversations?
No. Like right now, Christian is he was doing his stuff online. He's getting ready to go to on campus in January. So it's definitely something to consider and think about. Like every year at work, we have like, a little active shooter video and stuff like that. Okay. And like for me, for so many years, it was like I won't say the biggest joke, but you'd be looking at this video like, okay, yeah, get under the desk and this, that, and the because it wasn't common. It wasn't anything that I ever really expected to really be the case. I mean, every once in a while, somebody crazy comes to the job looking for their wife or their husband, and they go off. But that's like a one-off type situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, to actually really consider that in today's day and age, like, this is what life has come to. Like, you're not talking to your kids about, the level of stranger danger or, somebody putting something in their drink. Like, now we're talking about, you going to college to get an education and may not make it home because, of the craziness of this world. You know what I'm saying? And like when we went to do one of the tours at one of the local campuses here in Georgia, to see all of the people, the homeless people, on the street, and, like the concerns that parents have about the safety of their children, it's just like a whole lot. You just like, this is definitely not what I envisioned for, those conversations about being safe while my child is away at school. So it's the culture, the environment, like it's definitely so much different than, what we dealt with, what we went through.
Oh. So I will say, my kids are still in school, and this is actually the first year that they're both, well, not the first year, but it's been a few years that they had not been in the same school together. So now they're back. Now they're back to being in the same school together, and having to have the conversation with them and having to say to them, because they're in two different areas. So AJ is what is that? He's a sophomore. No, what is he? A junior. And
Yeah.
she's a freshman. And having to say to them, don't go look for each other. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the hardest thing I think I've ever had to say to my children. Like, don't go look trying to save your sister. Right. Like, don't go look trying to save your brother. Like, it was so hard, for me to say that because, like I raised them and taught them to protect each other and to be there for each other. And I'm like, but there's so much distance in the building, you can't, I'm like, you have to get yourself out. Like, like the conversation, Jeff is really going off in these comments. Now there's no windows. I'm gonna let Jesus know. Okay.
It goes with the other comments that we kind of.
Yeah, I was reading the other ones, but I just, you know what, Jeff. Having to have those conversations and still, having those refreshers. I will say, like my son, he's like, oh no, I always know where to exercise. He's like, the classrooms have 2 doors. I know where the door is that go out this door. He's totally aware. Now, my beautiful daughter, who I love so much, my daughter, unfortunately, is going to try to save everybody. She thinks she is Harriet Tubman. She gonna get everybody out. This girl, she would be the one trying to save the teacher and leave it up to her. She'll be trying to drag the gunman to safety. This girl, she is like,
yeah.
So, but having those conversations is difficult. I mean, the violence in school, but the violence in the world today. Having to remind my daughter when you're walking somewhere, pay attention to your surroundings. Like you said, be aware of who you're talking to, who you're responding to.
Pay attention to how people move, and that's
and I tell you, people, if people start being shady, you give them some space and you go.
Yeah. You gotta
do your own thing. When they got their cell phones, we put this thing on it, like this little alarm. She can hit it, and it says, "I'm being followed," and it takes a picture, like of your surroundings. Well, one day last week, she was on a field trip. I'm at my office. I'm at my desk. Her father's, I don't know, wherever he was, but he wasn't. He's out in the world. Her alarm goes off, and it says, "I'm being followed." Child, I'm jumping up. I'm grabbing my pocketbook. Mind you, I don't even have no car. I'm heading toward the door because I'm like, I'm going to rescue my baby. Only for her then to text and say, "Oh, I hit it by accident."
Oh man. No, ma'am. Do you know my heart just did?
Listen, I'm. It's so crazy. I'm in my office and I'm grabbing my pocketbook like, Andy, I'm screaming.
Because listen, I would have already had a coworker's keys in my hand. Like they wouldn't have even given me permission. Like I would have had their keys. Like I gotta go. Like I don't have a car, but you have a car. I'm taking your car.
And I'm just like, it was so scary in that moment. Just thinking about the world we live in now. Like what has, it's okay. What has transpired, around us, what our communities have become. And it's not even about living in the ghetto. It doesn't matter. It's as simple as going to the mall that,
Yep. And it's crazy because as parents, and when you have grown up in environments that were slightly rougher, as an adult, you say to yourself, I'm going to provide something better for my children. I'm going to put my children in a better environment. I'm going to put my family in a safer environment. I'm going to move to the suburbs. And then you move to the suburbs and the guns and the violence is out in the suburbs right there with you. And it's just like, oh, we all moved out here. Okay.
Right. Listen, Roosevelt is looking better and better every day.
It's like, oh, okay, we all had the same idea. The ones causing the problems had the same ideas too. All right, then we all out here together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I be thinking the same thing. Like, how do we all how y'all out here doing that? It's supposed to be
Yeah.
better out here.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's all about definitely teaching the kids though, whatever age your kids fall into, awareness and knowing their surroundings is so super important because like while you may not be able to carry something that we would consider to be the ultimate form of protection, um even in just situations of just like, I mean, there are people who carry and they don't know what's going on around them sometimes. So, like, you have to be aware of your surroundings at all times. Um, College age kids, like, before my daughter left, like, I know how I raised her, and I know that I'm not like a clubber or nothing like that. But I knew that once they went off to school, that they were going to kind of like, dibble and dabble and partying and clubbing and all the things. Like they were going to do their thing. Hey, listen, when you go out there, you don't need to be sitting your drink down, leaving your drink just open and out for any and everybody. If y'all go together, y'all stay together. You don't be going one way and your friends going another way. If you need to go to the bathroom, we all got to go to the bathroom. Right. We need to go together. So you have to teach them that awareness of when they're out. My youngest told me about it, even a shooting situation at his school last year or the year before. And he's kind of like how you said Lexi is want to save everybody. He said gunfire started going off, and by the time he got outside, he had to save some girl. He didn't even know who she was. And all she could say was thank you. So he done grabbed her and he, trying to make sure she's safe. So it's just those kind of like those things. And for me, with him being a guy, that was like, I appreciate you for doing that because that girl probably really didn't know what to do. So him being a guy, like, I'm glad you didn't get hurt. And I don't want him to get hurt trying to save some random girl. However, I do appreciate the fact that he thought enough
right,
as a young man to say, I need to protect this young lady and try to keep her safe in that moment. And he did. And I know she was grateful for it. And her family probably, too, once she got home and told everybody what happened, if she told them, because, college kids don't be telling you everything.
right.
But I do think that that's like awareness is key. Like you have to have these conversations. Even like I teach middle school, and even when we have I was listening to Vanessa talking about the safety drills and like, man, this stuff is like, it feels crazy when you're talking about it and when you're practicing it. And I mean, on top of that, imagine talking to 12, 13, and 14-year-olds trying to explain to them why they have to hide in the corner. And they looking at you like, well, that's just dumb. So having to have those conversations of why would I hide in the corner? But trying to explain to them the purpose of what we're doing and why it's important. Whereas a lot of teachers just tell them, just do what I say, as opposed to trying to explain to them the safety precaution behind what we're doing and what it means. So I make it my purpose whenever I talk to the kids about stuff like that, explain to them why we do it this way. Explain to them which corner we're supposed to. It's not just a corner, but there are certain corners. Like, let me tell you what the policy is and why we do it this way. And what happens if, because they like, well, then what if they come in the room? We just sit in the corner. You're right. We are just sitting in the corner, but we don't just sit in the corner. Let me tell you what we're doing in this room. I don't know what teachers down the hall doing. I really don't. I know what the policy say, but let me tell you what we're doing in this room. If something really go down, let me tell you how this is going to look. Let's talk about it. So I think conversations are super important.
I absolutely agree. So because we did seem like we got a little deep in the conversations, we are coming up on our hour. And so I want to make sure that we stick, I try to keep it to an hour as much as we can. The goal was just, again, to relay our feelings on certain things. Sometimes it's good to be able to just talk about things with no judgment. Like, I really don't care whoever you voted for. Like Shanetta, you might get a side eye if I know you like that. But I will say the circle of people that I know, we good. But you might get a side eye, but sometimes it's good to just be able to express what your opinion is without having to defend it or even try to explain it so it makes sense to you. This is just how I feel about something. And oftentimes people don't always get that opportunity. That is one of the main reasons why I started doing this, because sometimes your voice can get lost. Um, as being a woman, because that's all I've ever been. So all I could ever speak about is from a woman's perspective. So sometimes, being a wife and a mother and a daughter and a sister, you get bogged down in all these roles, and your voice for you gets smaller and smaller. And I know oftentimes when I'm talking, everything is about the kids and the mister and the mother and the siblings. And, it's hardly ever that I can just express. And it's my own doing how sometimes I don't get the opportunity to express what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what's going on in my head. So that is, the purpose of why we come on, to be able to relay those things. You won't always agree with what we say, and some of this stuff may never apply to you, but some may, and some may give you that extra boost of feeling supported, feeling like you're not alone, and that maybe someone understands your plight. So we do come on every Thursday ish at 8 p.m. Ladies, did you want to have any final words? Jeff, we thank you so much for providing the commentary for tonight. Very colorful. I love it. It's always a pleasure.
Special guest commentator.
It is always a pleasure to have someone engaged. So thank you for showing up. Ladies, of course, it's always a pleasure to be on here with you guys. So until next week, stay safe.
Thank you for watching the Sisters of Legacy.